Welcome back to East Texas Now. Join with us here at the desk for another vet project segment. It is a local vet. Please welcome back Dr. Seth Shirey there from the Rose City Animal Clinic. Dr. Shirey, happy to have you back.
Happy to be back.
All right. Can you grab that microphone a little closer to your mouth? I just want to make sure people are able to hear your answers. So today is a first alert weather day, the second rather of three first alert weather days that we've had. Not because there's ice or dangerous roads, just because of how bitterly and dangerously cold it is, not just for us as humans, but for our fur animals and all of our pets as well. So we wanted to have you on here this afternoon to talk about how we can get some good reminders when it comes to pet safety in these frigid, freezing temperatures.
Yes. And I know we had some individual questions, but just in general, you have to know your pet too. I mean, a Labrador Retriever who is designed to hunt ducks in freezing cold temperatures is very well going to be enjoying this weather. I mean, it is amazing how well some of these breeds can tolerate it. But if you've got a short-haired Chihuahua out there, I mean, it can get dangerous quickly. They do not tolerate that cold.
And, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, it can be by breed. It can also be by personality.
Absolutely.
I know I have a long-haired German Shepherd. She is bred to be like on the mountainous regions of Germany. She's got a thick coat, and you would never know it. She sees snow. She feels a slight breeze, and she is headed right back inside. She was born in Southern California, quite literally in the desert.
Yeah.
And so even Texas is too cold for her sometimes, let alone a mountain in Germany. So how do we know, whether it be our breed, our pet's personality, what have you, when our pets are just too cold?
Well, and I mean, a lot of their physiological reactions are like ours. So if you see them just flat out shivering, and it's shivering just like we would, I mean, that's an obvious sign. I mean, if their head is down, if they're at the door, if they're, in more severe cases, curled up and not moving, I mean, those are all really, really strong signs. And truly, just think about it like yourself. How would you react in the cold? And when it starts to become uncomfortable, that's how they're going to react.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, let's talk about on the more extreme side, right? Not just we take our pets out, but maybe we have outdoor pets, or maybe you see a neighbor that has not brought their pet in, that kind of thing. Let's talk about the most common health risks for pets with prolonged exposure to cold and how we can identify those.
Yeah, and I mean, hypothermia, of course, is the scariest and what everybody thinks about. But a lot of times we will see damage to the tips of the ears or the pads of the feet. Those are the two main areas where tissue is going to get damaged. And that stuff will quite literally turn black. That tissue will become hard and almost leather-like. And then the pads, the actual keratin pad part, will slough off. And so those are definitely things to be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. We see things like the dog pads for the paws and like the little booties that they're not usually the biggest fan of, but it sounds like can be life-saving. Less popular, I would say, at least in my own experience as a pet owner, are ear covers. So are those necessary when you're just going out to the bathroom, when you're taking your pet out for a potty break and then coming back, maybe like a quick run around, try and get some movement in before we head back in? How much do we need to protect them with those extra add-ons while we're doing those bathroom breaks?
And to be honest, I think those are more for the client, the owner. I mean, if they're going out, urinate, defecate, run around for 5 or 10 minutes even, they're not going to be harmed. But do they look cute in them? They do. So, I mean, it's okay. But I don't know about necessary.
Not harmful, but not necessarily going to be life-saving for those 10-minute little outdoor activities where we check all of the boxes to get back into the warmth. Well, that makes sense. So I do know that in terms of ice, right, we don't have it for this weather storm or weather temperatures, I guess we should say, the freezing temperatures, but we have in previous, right? And of course, looking ahead, yesterday there was a lot in Gregg County. There was a lot of ice that was being treated on bridges, on roads, and that salt, I've heard, can be very dangerous for pets' paws.
Yeah.
So what can we do to be able to protect our pets from that salt brine?
Yeah, and I mean that's not a situation I see very often, other than when like an owner or person will pick up a stray that's been, running along those roads. But for the most part, our clients' pets are not exposed to that. But I mean, the best thing to do is clean them with soap, water, rinse them off. And if you start to see inflamed, puffy, or even again sloughing of that pad, you got to bring them to a veterinarian and let them check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense now. What is our best way to go about if maybe we do see a stray that is out in the cold? Is that something that we call the vet because we know that they're probably experiencing health complications? Do we call maybe a shelter that then would contact their vets? What have you experienced?
Well, and that can be a complicated answer because you really have to assess the pet itself, right? Is it scared? Could it be fear reactive, aggressive? Would it be amenable to you, like holding on to it, keeping it? But then local shelters are always the way to go. We work with a couple of local shelters that really do a great job in protecting those pets, treating things that they have wrong with them. So yes, those shelters can be overwhelmed a lot of times, but boy, do they do their very best to take care of those guys.
That makes a lot of sense. I know with these freezing temperatures, myself, my body, my old injuries from all of my sports and cheerleading days begin to flare up a little bit. You know it's cold outside when my knee or my hand or
Yes,
my
ma'am.
tailbone starts hurting. So does the same translate to our pets? And is there anything that can help us alleviate some of that joint mobility pain?
Yeah, they do. Since that cold in their joints like we do, I do get more arthritic change cases in the cold, but that's a whole conversation in and of itself. There are tons of things that we can do for arthritis. It's one of the most common problems we face in dogs, and there are a myriad of things we can do to manage it, from oral NSAIDs to injections, just a whole host of things.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, before we go, is there anything that we haven't mentioned when it comes to keeping our pets warm, safe, protected when it comes to these freezing temperatures?
I don't know that there's any one specific thing other than know your pet. I think I said that last time too, but you know your pet better than anyone else. And when you see that they're not doing and acting the way that they do in their normal daily routine, something's wrong. And if it's that cold, you got to get them inside.
Absolutely. Get them a little blanket. Let them curl up on the couch with you if that's,
That's what they
a
want.
treat. That is my dog. That's what she demands when it gets cold. And she's giant. She's over 70 pounds, so there is no talking her out of it.
I'm
She
with
just
you.
lays right on top of you.
I am with
I act like it's an annoyance. It's not. It's fantastic, and it fills your heart with love. All right. Once again, Dr. Seth Shirey, thank you for joining us here on East Texas Now for another Vet Project segment.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, come back anytime.